Hello guys, and welcome to another Honkai Star Rail video. So it's time for another Honkai Star Rail account overview video, and like the title suggests, I finally built up my welt to a certain degree, and unfortunately he did not perform up to my standards. Also, I'll be taking a new direction when it comes to my account reviews. I used to do them every 2 weeks, since I would at least see some moderate progression in those 2 weeks of gameplay. However, I've hit a point where I'm basically min-maxing my characters, and you won't really see much of a difference on my account unless I decide to build a new character. So as a result, I will only be producing these account overview videos when I decide to build a new character, light cone, or if anything major just happens to change my account. And this is my Memory of Chaos progression so far. Once again, I managed to 30-star all 10 stages. However, this time around was definitely a lot more difficult than the last season, mainly because this season's turbulence did not really benefit me. For this season's turbulence, after an ally uses a follow-up attack, reduces the attacked enemy's target all type resist by 30% for 2 turns. The only character I have that has a follow-up attack is March 7th, and her follow-up attacks are random to a certain degree, because the enemy has to attack a shielded enemy, so it's definitely not guaranteed, and the majority of the time if you're using March 7th, the enemies might be frozen, so kind of counterproductive. And if you guys haven't already checked out my video for the gameplay footage of Floor 10 for this season of Memory of Chaos, these are the 2 teams I ran. The first side I ran Zile, Silverwolf, Ting Young, and Bailu. The second team I ran the same one as last time as well, Dan Hung, Pela, Natasha, and March 7th. Of course, the main issue with the second team is that it lacks damage. Dan Hung is the only damage dealer. The other 3 are support characters, and as you guys might know, Dan Hung isn't exactly the strongest when it comes to AoE damage. His single target is quite strong, but in this season of Memory of Chaos, there are definitely multiple enemies that you have to take care of. For the first couple of hours of attempting Memory of Chaos Floor 10, I actually ran Welt. Some of the teams that I ran him with include himself with Pela and Natasha. I actually didn't even run March 7th in the first couple of runs. The biggest issue with this, however, is survivability. I found it even difficult to survive in the second wave against just the Mara-struck general. His piercing attack would basically one-shot any of my squishies, including Welt himself. And unfortunately, my Natasha was unable to solo sustain the entire team. After that, I tried running no healer, and I ran March 7th with this team, and I tried to play a certain type of playstyle where you can sort of perma-freeze or impair the opponent. That didn't go too well either. It requires perfect timing and really good RNG, so I eventually gave up on that as well. The third and final team I decided to attempt Welt with was this, with Dan Hung, Welt, Natasha, and March 7th. Basically, the original team, except I replaced Pela. Of course, you guys already might know the issue that I ran into. The Mara-struck general kept healing over and over. Even with the imprisonment provided by Welt, it just wasn't enough. I was expecting Welt to maybe do enough AoE damage to kill off the Mara-struck soldiers that the general spawned, but his damage wasn't quite enough to clear them in time to prevent the Mara-struck general from healing up. It could be because my Welt's not fully built. Maybe that's why he's underperforming. And I also don't have a specific Nihility light cone for him. He's just currently using a placeholder. I'll show you guys in a moment, or later on when I go over Welt's kit and his gear. So yeah, hopefully Welt provides some utility or use later on in the future seasons of Memory of Chaos. But definitely for this current season, he's not going to cut it. Alright, now let's go over my characters. Some of them have changed quite a bit. Others remain mostly the same. Let's start off with Bailu. These are her stats. She has the same light cone. Her traces are the same as before. Her relics got changed a bit. She used to run a 4-piece musketeer set. Now it's a 2-piece musketeer and a 2-piece speed set. This is her headpiece. These are her gloves. Same musketeer chest piece or body piece. These are the new boots I got before that I put on my Pela. I upgraded them to plus 15 because it occurred to me that these pair of boots are actually going to be really good on a future Bronya whenever I pull Bronya because of the high crit damage and the defense percent stat. I was originally going to scrap this, but thankfully it came up to me that this could potentially be a very useful speed gear for Bronya. Bailu actually got a new pair of planar spheres and link rope for this new set, the Broken Keel, that provides effect resist. Unfortunately, this piece does not have speed in the substats, and this one's the new link rope, also lacking speed, which is essentially probably the most important stat, but it will do for now. That's why I didn't fully upgrade either of them, they're both at +9. As for Eidolons, she's at Eidolon 0. Alright, on to my second healer, Natasha. These are her stats. Same light cone as before. Traces are also the same level. Her relics changed a little bit. She still has the 2-piece outgoing healing set, but her headpiece is this piece here. I will eventually try to make a 2-piece HP set on her, or a 2-piece speed set. I don't really care, either one is nice, paired along with the outgoing healing boost set. It did roll into attack one time, unfortunately, but other than that, the substats are pretty decent. It's even got speed. Same gloves, same headpiece that I'll eventually replace with either the HP or speed set. Same old boots for the outgoing healing set, and her planar sphere and link rope are the same. Eidolons, she's actually at Eidolon 3 now, because I managed to pull a copy of her within one of my standard 10 pulls. Alright, next is Silver Wolf. I believe nothing has changed on her. Same light cone, same traces, which I'll eventually work on. And yeah, her relics are still the same, but I might as well show them to you, since I'm here anyways. Yep, same old, same old. Eidolons are at Eidolon 0. As for Ting Young, I think everything about her might be the same as well. Maybe she got a huge speed boost, 157 speed. These are her stats, by the way. Same light cone, same traces. Let's see, did her relics change? Oh, she did. This used to belong to my Bailu. Yeah, it has 9 speed in the substats. These would actually be perfect for any healer, but unfortunately, the 4-piece Musketeer set is no longer the best in the slot, in my opinion. I would rather run a 2-piece HP set with a 2-piece speed set on either Bailu or Natasha. But to be fair, this piece is really good on Ting Young as well, as she does want the speed and the survivability provided by the HP percent. Really, really good new piece for my Ting Young. I believe these are just temporary gloves that she had before. This is definitely the same speed boots that are pretty good. Same planar sphere and same link rope that eventually I'll probably run this 2-piece set. It's not the best in the slot, but she does benefit from the attack percent. Eidolons, unfortunately, I still haven't pulled an extra copy of Ting Young. Next is my Zile. She actually got new relics, or I managed to put a new 4-piece quantum set on her. You'll see very shortly here when I show you. Same light cone, same traces. And as I said before, I managed to gather up a 4-piece quantum set for my Zile. The substats are pretty decent. Very high in crit damage for these 2 pieces, but quite low on the crit rate. This is the really good crit damage chest piece that I got on her. It's probably going to be pretty much a permanent piece. I don't think I'll be finding a good replacement for this anytime soon. I've been grinding the Quantum Domain or Cavern of Corrosion for literally 2 to 3 weeks already. And I've even been using that, I forgot what it's called, but you convert a certain amount of relics or the material so you can form a certain type of relic and certain type of set. I've been doing that for the boots as well. I have not gotten any other good attack percent boots other than this one. But the rolls, of course, the game loves to do this to you. Just all roll in the defense. This could have been the piece for Zile, but it just all rolled in the defense. One time it rolled into crit damage, but I don't think this is really worth going to +15. I'm going to just be very patient and wait until I finally get a quote-unquote good pair of quantum attack percent boots. In fact, let me show you guys real quick. I grinded that domain so much that I actually have a bunch of speed boots for this set, which I don't need for Zile. I mean, I think I can probably use some of these in the future for someone like Qing Shui or some other quantum damage dealer that needs it. But for Zile, she definitely doesn't want speed boots, but I managed to get, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And there's definitely been more that I've already scrapped. So, there you go. Game just loves to troll you sometimes. Game just loves to troll you sometimes. As for her planar sphere, it's the same one. and her link rope is also the same one as well. Eventually, I want to get these replaced for the other crit rate set that boost skill and basic attack damage, but for now, these are definitely good enough to be put on Zelie. As for Eidolon, she's at Eidolon 0. Alright, next is Danny Boy, who is the main DPS of my second team. Same light cone, same traces. Relics changed a little bit. He's still running the attack percent or 2-piece musketeer set and the 2-piece speed set. However, I decided to swap out his headpiece, which had a lot more crit rate and crit damage before, and probably attack percent or something. For a little bit speed, I thought he was going a little bit too slow in my opinion. He had like 121 speed before, now he's at 126 speed. Same gloves, same chest piece, same boots, same wind planar sphere that eventually I'll get replaced, and the same link rope. So basically the only thing I changed out was his headpiece. Eidolons, he's still at Eidolon 3. Serval is still currently benched. I might bring her back in the next season of Memory of Chaos, when I believe the buff is an increased damage for DOT. She might find some use there, but if it's the same type of enemies like the Marastruck General and Kafka, I probably still can't use her because those two enemies are highly resistant to lightning damage. So maybe she'll be useful. I don't know yet. I already built her up to a certain degree, so kinda sucks that she isn't being used at the moment. Fire Trailblazer is currently being benched as well. It's just a element thing. In my opinion, he's probably just as strong as my March 7th. It's just that currently the Memory of Chaos benefits ice, or wants ice characters rather than fire element characters. Okay, now let's talk about my welt. Yes, I know he doesn't have a light cone. As of now, I took out all his gear and put him on other characters because I didn't use him for the final couple of runs in the Memory of Chaos. But let's quickly just go over what he has. For his light cone, I believe I was running Serval's light cone, which is currently equipped to my Pela. I was just using it for the base stats. It definitely gave enough attack, HP, and defense to, well, to be usable. And I currently don't have any, like, Nihility light cones that are worth upgrading for welt, so that's why I'm currently holding off. These are his traces. I put quite a bit of investment into his traces, which also makes me even more disappointed and sad that he underperformed. For his ultimate, skill, and talent, they're all at level 8, and I even unlocked each of his major traces, so I definitely didn't skimp out. He has quite a bit of resources put into him, but he wasn't up to par, unfortunately. As for his relics, these are pretty much his relics. He's missing the boots, which I will show you guys in a moment. This is his headpiece. I believe this belonged to Dan Hung, or no, actually it belonged to my Zelie, but I gave Zelie the 4-piece quantum set. This used to belong to Serval. Dan Hung has a lot of effect hit rate, so it's really good on welt. This crit rate piece used to be on Serval, that's for sure. As for boots, I was running the pair I have on Pela, I believe. Has a lot of crit rate and crit damage. It's an offset and just a temporary piece, but I mean, it gave him enough speed to actually be faster than my Dan Hung, so I don't think the boots were the issue, honestly. His planar sphere and link rope are actually pretty decent. Originally, I was hesitant to even upgrade it because of the substats. As you can see, it's got HP and defense, which he doesn't really need. But it does have crit rate, and the effect resist does fit the 2-piece set. And the rolls actually went into both the crit rate and the effect resist. As for a link rope, the substats are actually pretty solid. The link rope, the substats are insane. It's got crit rate, crit damage, effect hit rate, effect resist. This is literally near perfect for welt or any Nihility character that needs the effect hit rate. It's even good on a general DPS character since it's got crit rate, crit damage. The main stat is attack, and the effect resist benefits the 2-piece effect resist set, the Broken Keel set. So I don't know, maybe if I upgraded them both to plus 15, I don't think that would have made a difference, honestly. He just didn't perform as well as I thought he would. As for Eidolons, of course he's at Eidolon 0. Alright, next is March 7th. I believe she is the same as before, Japard's light cone. These are her traces, very little investment compared to my other characters. Relics should be the same, but let me just go over them real quick for you guys. Eventually I want to get better effect hit rate chest piece for her. These are boots, planar sphere, and link rope. Eventually, actually no, the link rope's fine. Eventually I want a better planar sphere for both my March 7th and Fire Trailblazer. As for Eidolons, you guys already know my infamous Eidolon 6 March 7th, who is probably going to come back to haunt me again when I pull on Imbibitor Lunane's Raid Up banner, since she's one of the Raid Up 4 stars on there, but that is going to be for another video. And last but definitely not least is my Pela. Alright, these are her stats. This is her light cone. I'm currently giving her Serval's light cone just as a temporary placeholder for the base stats, obviously. Like I said before, when I find a better Nihility light cone for both Welt and Pela, I'm going to build one up. But for now, they're both just going to be using the seriousness of breakfast that I've heavily invested into. Unfortunately, Serval is kind of just benched and not really being used. As for traces, these are her traces. Very little investment, as Pela does not need high investment in her traces in order to function. Eventually, I'll probably fully max the ultimate and probably get this to level 8 for the extra energy regeneration, but everything else is pretty unnecessary. These are relics. It's funny because she's kind of just using leftover gear from my other characters, but I'll go over them real quick. Actually, surprisingly enough, her headpiece was specifically upgraded for her. It's pretty much perfect. It's got HP percent for durability, so she doesn't die, a fair amount of speed substats, and a little bit of effect hit rate. Not a lot, but it's still usable. I mean, I'm probably eventually going to find something better, but for now, this is pretty solid on my Pela. For her glove piece, I believe I had this on someone else, or I might have just upgraded it just for Pela specifically. I don't know. It's pretty good. It's got good effect hit rate and some other decent substats that she kind of uses. This is more better suited for someone like Welt, but as you guys already know, Welt's currently benched. Her chest piece is an effect hit rate chest piece that is the 2-piece speed set. It's just a temporary piece. The substats are definitely not good enough for a permanent piece. These are just boots that I upgraded for my Welt, like I said earlier, because it has speed main stat and pretty good substats for a DPS character. In the future, this might be used on someone like Qingtre or any other future quantum DPS character that's released that requires some speed. Definitely not going to be put on my Zealey, however. Funny story, for her Planar Sphere, I actually upgraded this just so Pela could have a little bit extra damage, because that was going to be the issue when I ran my team with Dan Hong, Pela, Natasha, and March 7th. That team absolutely does 0 damage. If Pela had a little bit more damage in her kit, then I feel like that team would have been perfectly fine in pretty much every scenario. But since Pela's a support, and you don't really put too much damage on her, she's kind of just there for the defense shred and the buff removal. Normally, the best Planar Sphere main stat for Pela would either be HP percent or defense percent, just so they have better survivability. But in this case, I wasn't worried about survivability since I had both a healer and a tank and shielder. So instead, I decided to upgrade this ice damage boost Planar Sphere that I had. It's actually a very, very strong Planar Sphere for someone like Yang Qing. It's got speed, crit damage, attack percent. The break effect is whatever, but the rolls went into both speed and crit damage, so I feel like this piece is going to be definitely really good in the future if I ever manage to pull Yang Qing, which I kind of don't want to. I don't like his playstyle, but if I ever do, I've got his Planar Sphere ready to go. As for her Link Rope, this was previously on my Ting Young, but I moved it over to my Pela because it has the high effect hit rate, some speed, and I guess the attack percent sort of helps. Not really, but it's got speed and effect hit rate, so why not? And finally, for her Eidolons, Pela is at Eidolon 2. Okay guys, well that's going to be it for this Honkai Star Rail account overview video. If you guys have any suggestions when it comes to building Welt or improving his overall performance, I'd love to hear them in the comments below. But other than that, I'll see you guys in the next Honkai Star Rail video. Peace.